All right, we are back with a quick update as there is news from the NFL, and it's nothing to do with the Hall of Fame game. But Terry McLaurin, who has been doing essentially a hold in, as this is kind of becoming a pattern now with players in the league who want a new contract, he has apparently requested a trade out of Washington. He wants out of from the Washington Commanders because they haven't probably been close to agreeing on a new contract. I went over this a little bit with the Trey Hendrickson situation, and it is no different for me with the Terry McLaurin situation. The guy's a great player. He had 82 catches last year for just over 1,000 yards, almost 1,100. But he's entering the third and final year of his deal, and ultimately he's due about $16 million this year. That deal was essentially a 3-year, $68 million extension. So he wants a new contract now for the foreseeable future. He's about to turn 30 years old, so he probably sees this as his last chance to kind of cash in. And again, just like with all these situations, for me, it is strictly business. So if he wants to do this, that's within his right to do this. If I'm the team, I ain't trading him, and I'm going to dare him to come play for the $16 million. And if he wants to leave it on the table, then he can leave it on the table. But chances are, more than likely, these guys aren't going to leave $16 million on the table. Now, people might argue that and be like, oh, that's so wrong or whatever. But that's the way I see it. If it's business, if you guys want to keep it strictly business, that is how the business goes. And if you want to try to make it personal, well, then you're personally screwing over the team by showing up to practice and not practicing. So I'm not going to hold that against him. If that's what he wants to do, he can do that. But I also, as the team, don't have to give him a new contract. And I get it that people think that this is what you're supposed to do. I got into it a little bit earlier today. I'll show you with an ESPN, well-known guy, Louis Riddick, who, had a tweet earlier about the Trey Hendrickson situation. And it's just kind of more of the same. So let's take a look. So this is so Louis Riddick said, no one would help your first rounder even more. He says, if your best pass rusher was compensated properly and was on the field actually showing him how it's done, just a thought. Because obviously in this video, you can see Trey Hendrickson there coaching up the rookie defensive lineman, to which I said he's under contract, which he is. Trey Hendrickson is still under contract this season. So when you're talking about compensated properly, it's not like the team stopped sending him his checks. He is essentially, they are coming through with their part of the deal. And that's what I said. I hate when we act like teams are the ones not coming through with the commitment. Hendrickson is signed through this season. He's the one now fulfilling his commitment that he signed. When he signed that extension, it said that he would get paid this much for the next this many seasons. And this is one of those seasons that's included. So that's on him for not showing up. And Louis Riddick came at me, said, educate yourself on how the business of football contracts work, especially when talking about how contracts are honored. Well, again, I'm not trying to be up there with Louis Riddick and say that I know how everything works. But unless when they signed that previous extension, part of the promise was, hey, by your last year, we promise, and it's on paper, that we will give you another extension, then the team is fulfilling their contract. So this contracts are honored. That's nice and all. But essentially, I'm sorry, like Trey Hendrickson has every right to not show up and not play. But the team also has every right to, if he doesn't show up and doesn't play, to not pay him. And I love Louis Riddick. He's between him and Dan Orlovsky, they're my favorite guys on ESPN. They cover the game great, but I just disagree. And that's what I said back. I said, that's my point. That it's the right thing to do in a way to honor the contract, essentially to pay him and extend him, but they're not required to do so. I want players to get their money, but if you sign a 5-year deal with ESPN, Mr. Riddick, you're not holding out that 5th year because you can't agree on an extension. And if you are, then you didn't come through with your 5-year commitment. You gave them a 4-year commitment. I'm sorry. Obviously, I said that he's one of my favorites on ESPN, and we might not see eye to eye, but I hate when players and teams don't honor a commitment. Either one. If the team stopped paying him, I'd have a huge issue. You said you would pay him. But they are not saying they're not going to pay him for his current contract. They're just not extending him. And the Bengals never agreed to giving him an extension when they gave him the last one. So ultimately, that's my point, and that's where I stand on that. And it's the same thing here with Terry McLaurin. Again, do I think it's the right thing to do if the guy has, I mean, I don't even want to say right or wrong. We don't know. What if I didn't like this guy? What if I thought he was a jerk and I gave him a 3-year contract and this is his 3rd year and maybe he's the best player in football? But as an owner of a company, what if I didn't want this employee in my company? Do I have every right to just finish my commitment, the 3-year contract or whatever, and not continue to sign him? I have every right to do that. Could you call it stupid? Absolutely, you could call it stupid. Could you, I mean, is it bad management? Sure. But there is nothing legally or on paper that the team is supposed to now give him an extension. What if they don't feel like it? So what? That's within their right. And that's my whole point here. So with Terry McLaurin, I hope he gets paid and I hope he gets his money. But again, it's up to the team whether they want to extend him or not. They don't have to trade him. They do not have to. And if they lose him, if he sits out the whole season and they don't get any production and they are missing 1,000-yard receiver because he left or because he's not showing up to work, essentially, well, yeah, you could say it's a loss for the Commanders. They lost a receiver. But Mr. McLaurin also lost his pay because he's leaving money on the table, and that's totally fair. He can do that if he'd like. But as the team, I don't have to trade you. I can stare you down eye to eye and dare you to show up. Show up to work if you want to get your paycheck, because that's how it works. And the guaranteed money that was guaranteed has been given. If the team didn't give guaranteed money, I'd have an issue with the team. But at this point, on the 3rd year of his deal, the guarantees are likely gone. And at this point, he needs to make the team, which he would definitely make the team. And he collects his checks on a week-to-week or bi-weekly basis, essentially, which he will get because he's Terry McLaurin. He's a pretty good receiver. And that's on him. So at this point, like I have no sympathy for these situations with these players. Again, you sign a 3-year deal. If you wanted to be a free agent and be negotiating a new contract right now, you could have signed a 2-year deal. But you signed a 3-year deal. This is the 3rd year of that deal. Go to work. Go to work. It's your leverage, and I understand that. I'm not even necessarily blaming him because this is the culture. This is what happens. And most of the times, teams will cave and give an extension. But they don't have to. And that is my only argument. The Vikings are the team that I know best just had this with Josh Metellus. He was entering the last year of his deal. He did show up to camp, and they signed an extension. The Vikings didn't have to, but they did. I don't know why they did. I think he's a great player. Don't get me wrong. I'm not questioning why they did it, but I'm just saying maybe they didn't even look at the production. Maybe they did it because they really like the guy. And that they can choose to do it for whatever reason they want to do it. And for that same reason, they can choose to not give somebody a contract as well. So that's how this works. So a trade request, it's breaking news. And honestly, I don't think it means much. He can do that as much as he wants, but the Commanders are not trading him. If anything, if they end up trading him, it might be after he holds out a few weeks into the season. But at that point, you're losing a lot more money than just not showing up to training or not practicing. Because at this point, he's showing up. He's doing what Trey Hendrickson is doing now. He's showing up to practice, but not practicing. Just so he doesn't get fined. Wow, what a loophole. I mean, that is great for the players. That is awesome. Imagine showing up to work and not working, but because you showed up and you kicked your feet up on the desk, you're still going to get paid for that day when you didn't do any work. That's great. Do that. Go for it. But ultimately, again, I don't blame the players for doing it, and I don't blame the teams for doing it. And this is business, and this is how it works. And if the player wants to use that leverage, try it. Go for it, for sure. But don't be mad later, or all the media that's going to jump on this and be like, why don't they just pay him? Again, what if he's a disrespectful person? I don't think he is. I'm just giving an example. What if he's someone I regret paying that money to? Yeah, the production's good, but maybe I don't like how he does things. This is just a hypothetical example. All right, I don't have to pay him. But do I think they should? I do think they should. I think he's been a good receiver for them. I think he has a good, relationship with Jaden Daniels. They work well together. I would pay him. I would give him an extension because I foresee him being part of my core moving forward. But they don't have to. And if they don't, that's for them to figure out why they didn't. We could call it stupid, and we could say that, criticize it because we would have done it differently. But they have every right to do that. And frankly, if I'm the team and I have some leverage, I would wait. I don't need him practicing right now either. I would, let's see if you play chicken, and let's see who caves first. And it tends to be the players a lot of the time that will cave, just like Trey Hendrickson decided to be a holdout, and now he showed up. So now he's around. And let's see if he doesn't get a new contract. Is he willing to leave the $16 million? Is he willing to leave $1 million essentially on the table every single week for now because he doesn't have a future contract? Or will he play to earn it? And then maybe he'll give a huge FU to the team next offseason when he's a free agent and leave them completely. And that's his right. And that's what happens when you live out the right of a contract. So, and that's why there's a franchise tag, because if the team wants to screw you and keep you around, they get screwed too, because they're going to have to pay for it. And then they will have to pay you. That's essentially how Kirk Cousins made all his money. And good for him for understanding the business of the NFL.